This is the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast, daily intelligence for serious e-commerce portfolio builders across Amazon, TikTok Shop, Shopify, Walmart, and every channel that moves the needle. Neil Twa and his Voltage team all day, every day, since 2012. Let's get into it.
Quick question before we get into it. When a billion-dollar retailer files for $130 million in tariff refunds, what does that tell the average Amazon operator about their own import costs right now? Spoiler, the math is worse than you think, and waiting is not a strategy. It's Saturday, June 27th. Welcome back, folks. On behalf of myself and the whole Voltage team, we're genuinely glad you're here for episode 307 of the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast. Now, lock it in. Here's the reality. Carter's, one of the biggest children's apparel brands in North America, just went public about a tariff hit so large, it broke their net income by nearly 8% in a single quarter. If it's doing that to them, it's doing something to you too. Let's talk about what actually matters for operators today. Look, Carter's is not a small brand. They reported $681 million in net sales for Q1. Net income dropped to $14.3 million, down 7.7% year over year. And they filed for approximately $130 million in tariff refunds tied to IEEPA-related charges. Their interim CEO said it plainly, "We're in line for our refund, and we're monitoring it closely." He also said, "We're cautious that we're out of the woods on tariffs." That is not a man who sounds relieved. Here's what I want you to take from that, because this is where most operators miss it completely. Carter's historically paid just over $100 million a year in import duties. Their effective tariff rate sat around 13%. Then the additional duties hit, and that rate jumped to above 35%. That added over $200 million to their baseline cost structure in one move. Come on, now think about your brand. You are not Carter's. You do not have a legal team filing for 9-figure refunds. But if you are sourcing from any country that got caught in the IEEPA tariff expansion, your effective rate moved too. Maybe not by 22 points, but it moved. And if you haven't looked at that number recently, you're flying blind. The signal here is not big company has tariff problems. The signal is that tariff exposure is now a real margin event, not a line item you manage once a year. The implication is that your landed cost math from 6 months ago is probably wrong today. The move is to actually run the numbers, pull your HTUS codes, check the current duty rate, and compare it to what you were paying before the IEEPA additions hit. This is not glamorous work. Nobody is going to clap for you at a conference for running a landed cost audit. But the operators who know their real numbers right now are the ones who can still make a decision. Everyone else is just reacting, and reacting is expensive. Conventional wisdom says raise your price or eat the cost. Both of those are fine answers sometimes. But the first question is always, do you actually know the size of the problem? Most operators I talk to, they don't. They have a gut feel. Gut feels don't get you a refund. I talked to an operator recently, comfortable range, somewhere between $30,000 and $80,000 a month in revenue, selling in a soft goods category. He'd been sourcing from the same factory for 3 years. Solid relationship, good lead times, margins that used to sit around 22% net. He reached out because his ad spend had gone flat, but his profitability had cratered. He thought it was a PPC problem. It was not a PPC problem. When we pulled his actual landed cost, including the current tariff rate on his HTSS category, his net margin had compressed to somewhere just above 9%. He had not updated his cost model since the IEEPA duties hit. He was still pricing based on old landed cost assumptions, running the same ad spend as before, and wondering why the numbers looked wrong. Yeah, because the cost of every unit coming through the door had quietly increased, and he hadn't looked. He assumed his freight forwarder would flag it. They didn't. That's not their job in the way he thought it was. Here's the thing that got me. He said, "I thought this was a big company problem." And I get it. When you see a headline about Carter's filing for $130 million in refunds, it feels like a Fortune 500 story. It's not. The mechanism is the same. The tariff rate moved. The cost moved. If you didn't update your model, your margin moved without your permission. We rebuilt his landed cost from scratch. adjusted his pricing on 2 SKUs, paused one product entirely because the margin math no longer worked at any price point the market would accept. He didn't love that last call. But the alternative was continuing to fund inventory that was losing money on every unit shipped. The operators who survive this cycle are the ones who treat their cost model like a living document, not a spreadsheet they touched once during launch. Carter's has lawyers and accountants watching this daily. You need to be your own version of that, at your scale.
Would you like to have another $26,400 on your bottom line while saving 17 hours a week? With the new Voltage Caiman Data MCP, you can use the power of AI to reduce your time and increase your net profit. More than just ads management, it's a full AI-driven operator in the palm of your hands. Visit VoltageDM.com to learn how the Voltage Caiman Data MCP plus your data can 10x your Amazon brand in 2026 and beyond. And now, back to the podcast.
3 moves. Do these in order. First, run a current landed cost audit on every active SKU. Pull the HTS code, look up the current duty rate, including any IEPA additions, and compare it to what you modeled at launch or at your last pricing review. I know that sounds tedious. It is. Do it anyway. You cannot make a good decision on margin if you don't know what your real cost is right now. This is the foundation. Everything else is noise without it. Second, check whether you qualify for any duty refund or drawback. I am not your attorney, and this is not legal advice, but the mechanism Carter's is using, filing for refunds on IEPA-related tariff charges, is not exclusive to billion-dollar retailers. If you paid duties on goods that were later exempted, or if the IEPA authority gets challenged in court, and it is being challenged, there may be a path to recovery. Talk to a customs attorney. Seriously, a 1-hour consult could be worth more than a month of ad optimization. Third, if a SKU's net margin has dropped below $12 per unit after a current cost rebuild, make a decision, not a plan to revisit it. A decision. Pause it, reprice it, or kill it. I use $12 net per unit as a minimum discipline in the almost automated income framework because margin below that level rarely survives a fee increase, a return spike, or another tariff adjustment. And right now, all 3 of those risks are real. Holding on to a low-margin SKU because you already bought the inventory is not a strategy. It's hope. Hope is not a margin plan. Carter's is laying off 300 people and closing 150 stores over the next 3 years. That's what happens when cost structure adjustments get delayed long enough. You don't have 150 stores to close, but you do have decisions to make, and sooner is better. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. Tariff exposure is not a big company problem. It never was. It's a cost structure problem, and every operator importing physical goods is dealing with some version of it right now, whether they know it or not. The difference between the operators who come out of this cycle stronger and the ones who don't, it's almost always the same thing. They know their numbers, not their revenue, their real numbers. Landed cost, net per unit, effective margin after fees and duties and returns. That's the game. If you're doing this alone, that's hard. Not impossible, but hard, because you don't always know what you don't know. And in a cost environment like this one, a blind spot is expensive. That's exactly what the Voltage Business Builders community is built for. Operators working toward $100,000 in net new profit, with guidance from people who have actually run this at scale, alongside a room full of sellers doing the same work at the same time. Not a course, not a coaching call once a month. A real operating environment with real accountability. 13 years of this. Over $100 million in tracked sales across brands we've built and advised. We've seen tariff cycles, fee changes, algorithm shifts, aggregator collapses. We're still here, and our members are still building. If you're ready to stop guessing and start operating with real clarity, come find us at VoltageDM.com. That's where it starts. Thanks for spending part of your Saturday with us on the High Voltage Business Builders podcast. We'll see you tomorrow.